I had pills in I had pills in my pocket, and she was like, "Oh, I'm with my friend. You wanna go home and do a threesome?"
Boy, he just dropped me. I'll be fine. I was like, all right, and I just dropped him, and he dropped and fell down off the balcony.
A former fat boy and an ex-anxious kid
How we became real men, learning the skills, creating the habits, and becoming the man.
with Max and Matteo.
Action. And we're back. We're back. Back to the party days. That's what we're going into today, right?
Oh, the party days.
The man. I want to go into your party stories because I know you were a bit crazy back then.
I've got too many. Where do you want to start?
Go on. Right. Actually, let's go back to what triggered it all, because we were actually talking about this, weren't we? We were saying I don't regret those days.
Nothing. No.
I don't at all.
No.
But I wouldn't recommend them.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I definitely don't want to continue that lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful I did it, and
Right.
I'm grateful nothing bad happened. If that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. Like, I know you've said this as well. Like, I'm lucky I got out alive in some of the cases because I did some real stupid things.
Well, tell us your story. The best one.
The best.
I know it, but I think they
Do you know it?
they deserve.
Which one?
The one when you drove the car.
Oh God! Oh, this is awful. Okay, so this is a bit of an insight into me way back when I was a very stupid, immature, thoughtless idiot. Let's say that's literally the best way I can explain it, because I was high on MDMA, cocaine, ecstasy, and alcohol, and I think possibly weed as well.
Oh, so that was my normal Saturday night.
That's the worst thing. It was so normal. Like, I think this was during the week.
Wow.
I went to my so it got to a point where I was doing it every single day. It wasn't necessarily partying all the time, because I was actually I wasn't even 18 when I was doing this.
Right.
So I wasn't even able to go clubbing. I had to do this at house parties. My house ended up being sort of like the crack den where my friends would come to, and there was just drugs everywhere.
The crack den.
Literally the crack den. Like, if there would be video evidence, if there would be a video in the corner of what happened, like, I'd be arrested for sure. The stuff
To
that
be
went
fair,
on.
I've seen that in the in the British culture.
Yeah, it's big. It's big. A lot of people, they realize how big drugs are in the British culture. And for me, it was even like, I mean, I smoked weed at like, what, 13, something like that.
Yeah.
And then like people are like, oh, it's a gateway drug. And you're like, nah, don't be stupid. But I suppose it kind of is if you're doing it recreationally. Because I actually believe, I don't smoke weed at all. I don't touch any drugs. But I do believe weed has a purpose.
Yeah.
Like, it's a plant. So as long as it's not manufactured and grown quickly, then I believe there's some sort of reason for it. Like, think THC oil and stuff like that.
It's a plant medicine. Basically.
Exactly, It literally is, and I believe there's purpose for it. But when you're smoking a joint every night to chill out, then there's a problem.
Yeah. Or also, or maybe you do it to have fun with your mates. That can also be a problem if you do that every day.
Exactly. Whereas to use it, for example, I like magic mushrooms. At the moment, I'm even microdosing, and I'm being super creative. I was saying to the girl that gave me the mushrooms, like, how creative I'm being right now. I don't see mushrooms as a drug. I don't see ayahuasca. I do see LSD as a drug. Although you can get profound experience with it and have spiritual experiences, it's still it's man-made. So for me, anything. So that's sort of what I'd actually like to clear up is, I believe a drug is anything that's man-made. So I wouldn't necessarily class weed as a drug. I would class it more as a medicine if used correctly. But like anything, you can abuse it. That's why I think things like psychedelics, they're not addictive. So you can't really abuse psychedelics.
True.
Although,
unless, anything can have like an addiction side to it.
True.
Because some substances are addictive because of the nature.
What, because of the outcome they get from it?
Well, that's the other part, right? One can be the substance, like for example, like heroin. Heroin will hook anyone up.
Yes.
Because it's just the way it's. It
makes you feel.
Not just that. It's literally like the substance creates like a need for you for more of it.
Right. Yeah.
There's a name for it. It just doesn't come up. But some other substances, like for example alcohol, you can get addicted to it because you are addicted to the feeling that gives you, but the substance itself is not addictive.
Okay, so for example, tobacco is addictive.
Well, nicotine is addictive. The substance is addictive.
Right.
And then maybe you get addicted to the feeling
The
as well.
and the action
so basically,
of smoking.
there's two sides of it.
Yeah.
It can be like the substance can give you addiction.
Makes sense.
And also the feeling can give you addiction.
Well, so that's the interesting thing, because a lot of people think, like I've worked with people to help them stop smoking, a lot of people think that smoking is the thing that's addictive. And it's not. The thing that's addictive they think smoking calms them down. They think it relaxes them.
Yeah.
But what are they doing? They're going...
It's actually the breathing.
Exactly. And that's the first thing I always say to someone who smokes, who wants to stop smoking, is you need to disassociate relaxation to smoking. You're actively giving yourself, how long does it take to smoke a cigarette? 5 minutes?
Yeah.
You're giving yourself 5 minutes of breath work. Even though there's smoke going into your lungs, you're still actively bringing more oxygen in as well, because you're conscious.
Because maybe it's the only time in their day that they are breathing deeply.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And that's what a lot of people don't do. And again, going back, I mean, I used to smoke. I used to take every drug you can think of. Like, I got to a point where I was debating taking steroids. I was like, why not? Like, I take every other drug. Why not? And I got to that point where it just got so much that it just caused me so many mental health problems. So although I had so much fun, and I'll go into the story of driving the car, but although I had so much fun, it caused me so much pain. So it was sort of like the cons outweigh the pros by a landslide. Do you know what I mean? It's like would you, for example, walking across a beam that's like let's say this wide, walking across that over like 1 meter in the air is going to be easy, but walking across that over 2 buildings 200 meters in the air,
freak me out.
It would freak you out. The action is no different.
That's right.
The perspective is the different thing. But then take it to this extreme. Imagine you had a kid and your kid was over the other side and the building was burning. You're going over there.
You do it. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because there's enough desire to do it. And yeah, I suppose it got to a point where I was in so much pain that I had to do it. And the story itself, ended sort of, we were at my friend's dad's house. We were taking so many drugs. We ended up crushing up ecstasy and sniffing ecstasy as well. And it got to the point where I was sitting there and my friend was looking at me and my knee's going like this and it was shaking and he's trying to get me to stop. I was like, look, try and put your hand on it. And I'm literally sitting there talking like this. And I was like, look, put all your weight on my knee. It won't stop. And my knee kept going. That next day, my friend was like, that day he was going, I can't go into work tomorrow. I can't go into work. He literally got anxiety that night. It literally caused him anxiety because of how many drugs we took. And then that's when my anxiety started as well. And he didn't want to leave his house. He quit his job. He didn't want to work.
For how long?
He still got anxiety. I think I haven't spoken to him for years.
That's nuts.
Yeah, but the last time I heard from him, he still had anxiety. This was 4 or 5 years ago. Do you know what I mean? So it's a very long time ago.
So
I
last
spoke
caused
to him.
anxiety to him.
Yeah, I literally watched it happen. He was literally like, I can't go into work tomorrow. I can't go into work tomorrow. I've got and then when I think about it, I know that he had to lie to his manager on the phone and he was high at the time. So he's causing himself, he's probably got a connection to the experience where he's had to say something which is causing him panic because he's lying. And he said it to his manager. His manager knows that he's lying. He said it to his mum. Like he's just causing himself sheer panic. And that sort of state just stuck. And it stuck for a long time from when I was there.
Wow.
But yeah, we ended up, it got to like 6 a.m. I got in my car. I drove another 20 minutes. Like people are going to work. It's like a Wednesday morning. People are going to work and I'm absolutely half my head. And a car in front of me, the guy who was the drug dealer, ran over a cat. And I looked at my mate and I was like, bro, did you see that? He's like, what? I was like, that cat just got hit. I was like, I need to stop driving. He's like, no, we got to keep going. I was like, like didn't know what to do. And then we ended up getting it. It was like £300 worth. Drove back to my friend's dad's house and then just started again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 100%, I'm not condoning that. I am not condoning that. But that wasn't even a good experience when I think about it. It wasn't a good experience. It was a good feeling. Like I felt great. But then also if you would look at me, I'm literally like this. I'm calling people
yeah.
up. I'm calling people up, and my friends are like, "Oi, Max, say that again." They're putting me on loudspeaker because they're with people, and I'm like, "Oh, you got any more drugs? You got any more drugs? Oh, I need some more drugs. I need some more." And I'm literally like talking like that. It sounds horrible, man. That wasn't even a good story. Like,
yeah, that's the
that
thing.
was just awful.
That's the thing. Like when there is a point where you cross, there's a point where you cross, and it's like it was supposed to be fun, and that's probably like one of the reasons why I'm not into it anymore.
Right.
Well, actually, I mean, that's definitely the reason why. And that's also why I stopped drinking as well. Because for me, I wouldn't drink every day. So I wouldn't call like an alcoholic per se.
Right.
In fact, it wasn't even the alcohol. It could be anything.
Right. Well, did you binge when you would go out?
Yes.
Right. That's the
correct.
issue.
Yeah. And so, it would be fun at times.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
But there were times where, it was too much. And, sometimes it definitely wasn't so much fun because I was too high. And,
right.
And and that's definitely, oh man, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You can really shoot yourself in the foot. Like, when I think about it, that was actually the last experience when I started to come off drugs. When I actually think about it now, because that next morning I woke up. No, sorry, I didn't wake up. I got home at 11 a.m.
We didn't go to sleep.
I didn't go to sleep. So then I drove home after still being high. I think I tried to sleep at my friend's house for about half an hour, and then realized I need to go and sleep at home. Drove home. It was a beautiful day, which you don't get many of in the UK. Drove home, got in bed.
It's always like that, isn't it?
Well, exactly. And I got into bed, and I was facing the wall like this. And I remember I was like, hadn't eaten for like 2 days. I was super skinny. I wasn't working out. My mum came in. She was like, "Oh, Max, you want to come to a barbecue?" Like super enthusiastic. And I'm like, no, I'm really tired. And I'm literally staring at the wall like this.
Yeah.
Like, and then when she left the room, I was like, I am a loser. I was like, what am I doing? I was literally thinking, what am I doing? I was literally just absolutely abusing myself in my head, just going, what are you doing? You're such a loser. What are you going to end up if you keep doing this? And I remember that was sort of the changing point. So yeah, when I think about it, although it was possibly the worst night of my life, that's what actually changed me. And sometimes, I know it sounds awful, but we sometimes need to get to that point where it gets so bad that we choose to change. Because it's like, I always use the analogy. Imagine there's two people smoking. One person, the doctor says to them, "Oh, you shouldn't smoke." The other person, they say, "You take one more cigarette, you're going to die." The one that's going to die has got so much more leverage to stop smoking. The other one's like, "Oh, I'll be fine. Maybe I'll be all right." Like, there's no real thing. And you don't know that with drugs. Do you know what I mean? I could have driven that night. I could have crashed. I could have killed someone, and I could have killed myself. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm so grateful, nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's bad that you need to get to that point to realize it.
I think it's a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Yeah.
Because the blessings come in awful ways. Like, the blessing disguised itself as a night of my friend getting anxiety, me feeling like absolute crap, so much going on, my body not being able to function, and then realizing how messed up I was. But that wouldn't have happened if I didn't have that bad of a night. Because when I think about it, that was the month that it was every day I was taking drugs. And it wasn't always like cocaine or ecstasy or anything like that. Some days were just weed. But it was every day for 30 days I had drugs in my body. Do you know what I mean? So that's when, like, when you think about it, what changed now every day for the way I started meditation, every day for 30 days I meditated. So it's like I overload my system sometimes, which makes me change. So sometimes for the good, well, always for good, but sometimes it's from a bad place to a good place.
Right, okay.
So like if I want to get healthier, I eat loads of crap and I realize I can't eat this anymore, I'm feeling sick. And then that overloads my body to then go healthy for like 30 days and create a whole new like lifestyle again, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And do you think that that's needed?
I wouldn't say needed. I would say sometimes it works very well for me specifically. Like, when I first got into the gym, I went every day for 30 days. When I first started meditating, I went every day for 30 days. When I went vegan, it took me like 6 months. So I just slowly started cutting out food. I started cutting out red meat, then white meat, then fish, then I went veggie, then I went vegan. And then I went back to veggie because I couldn't be able to read everything that had ingredients. Then I went vegan again. So like, that was progressive. And I don't know if you heard the term progressive extremism. No. So it's basically doing something over a long period of time, but doing it indefinitely. So
What do you mean?
so for example, the vegan thing,
Right.
I didn't go like that. Whereas my sister, she watched one documentary on veganism and went vegan the next day, and she's been vegan ever since.
Okay.
She did it like that, cold turkey. And the meditation challenge that I did over 30 days, because I went all in for 30 days, that's a different story. Whereas it took me 6 months to go vegan. It's progressively
Okay.
doing something at an extreme level, if that makes sense.
Okay. So basically, what you're doing with the 30 days challenges that you do, you applied something. So you took something from your way of doing things and you made it into a positive way. Now
Yes.
you're aware of how you work,
Yeah.
and now you're like, oh, instead of overloading myself with something, you know,
All at once.
that is going to be probably destructive,
Yeah.
I'm going to do with something that is constructive.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've got an addictive personality. I do.
Yeah.
So I aim to get addicted to good things.
Right.
So for example, the Mindful Warriors,
Yes.
I'm addicted to making this work because I'm so enthused by it. I like the content. Like we've both got the same mindset to it. I'm like always thinking like, how can we make this work? How can we go viral? How can we reach more people? How can we help more people? Like I've even written it down there.
Yeah.
How can we impact more people? What is the best next step? And then to-do list, create powerful and entertaining content and share our program. That's literally like, I'm always thinking about it. So I just get my addictive personality, which some people are like, oh, you shouldn't say that about yourself. I'm like, but it's true. Like, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about, look, the way I see it is anything can be either a blessing or a curse. Like anything.
And constructive or destructive,
Right?
depending on how you view it.
For example, when they talk about the atomic energy or atomic, yes, it's a great source of energy,
Right.
but they made the atomic bomb from it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. That's the thing. Like everything has a good and a bad. Like literally everything. Well, actually, no. Everything itself is nothing. How we perceive it is good or bad. Like for
And
example,
how we use it.
Exactly. Like let's say drugs. I would consider them bad, but then let's face it, they actually did good for me because now they switched me from bad to good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But then at one point they switched me from a good kid to a nightmare. So like there's no true definite answer to everything. A laptop, it's great, but then
Social
also
media.
well no, but then a laptop's great, but then at the same time a laptop can get you or a phone's great. You can make money off of it. You can FaceTime your family around the world.
Learn.
You can learn something, but you can also use it to sell drugs. You can also use it to watch porn. You can also use it to sell, like, go on the black market. Like, there's so many negatives to it, but there's also a lot of positives. So it's like a phone itself is nothing. It's zero. A positive is a plus one, a negative is a minus one. For every positive, there's always a negative. It's like, yeah, you can take photos. It's like, yeah, brilliant. But you can also take photos of things that are disgusting.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, lots of people got blackmailed, right?
Exactly. So I would say for me, the biggest thing was utilizing the 30-day challenge, because when I first started meditation, I actually started with a 30-day challenge. So ironically, that's why I made a 30-day meditation challenge, because I just, every morning I was like, right, I'm dedicated to this. Every morning, every evening. So I meditated twice a day for 30 days. So then when it got to day 31, I was like, well, I might as well just keep going. Like, why stop now? Do you know what I mean?
So what was your streak?
Honestly, I don't know. I'd say, I mean, over the last 6 years, I've probably not meditated maybe 2 weeks,
Okay.
like total.
Okay.
But then also there's been days where I was meditating 3 hours a day,
Right.
and then sometimes 3 times a day. Not 3 hours,
Yeah,
three times a day, but like separate, like an
Few
hour, an
sessions,
hour, an
basically.
hour.
Yeah.
So a total of 3 hours a day. So like when I think about it, I probably have meditated more than every day. Like when you actually like rationalize it, if I would class a meditation session as 15, 20 minutes, maybe, like that's probably what I do. Between 15 to 30 minutes is sort of my average meditation. But at one point I was doing 3 hours a day of meditation. So I say go all in, but go all in easy. And you probably tell this to your clients as well, is if you struggle showing up to the gym, like you've never been once in your life, don't show up 7 days a week. And don't just eat salads and only drink protein shakes. Like, it's just irrational. Or there's people that do that. I go to the gym 7 days a week.
Yeah, it depends really, right? What I say to people is that, okay, like if you're really excited and you want to do this, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to understand the mindset
Yes.
from now, that basically what's going to happen. And what I've noticed is that people, okay, they say, I'm going to go every day to the gym. Cool, you do that. But I say, look, this is not going to be possible forever.
Yes.
So the day that you're not going to be, 1 week, you're not going to be able to go 1 day or 2 days, because it is going to happen.
Of course.
Don't take that as a failure.
Yes.
Because what you're doing
true.
now is abnormal.
Right.
That you're going every day. What you're
Right.
doing now is abnormal. So when you're not going to be able to go every day in a week,
Yes.
that's the normality.
Okay. Got you.
And so let's do it now. If you feel that you want to do it, we do it. But understand, because what happens, some people, they fall off. They feel like they fall off because they miss a
I've
day.
let Matteo down or something like that. Or I've
Yeah,
let
or
myself
just
down.
they missed the day.
Right.
Like they tell to themselves, I want to go to the gym every day. They miss 1 day in the week, and they're like, oh, I may as well just give up.
Right.
Which, to be honest, I don't know why that happens.
I've got a good logical answer for
Okay.
that, actually. Like, I've had it with people before where I'm helping them overcome anxiety, and they're like, oh, today I felt anxious, that's it, I've lost. I'm like, what do you mean you've lost? I was like, or they say, like, I've got an example, I'm not going to say the client's name, but she was like, oh my God, today I was feeling so anxious. I was like, how are you feeling now? She's like, yeah, not too bad. I'm like, what do you mean you've lost? I was like, you went from feeling panic every second of every day to feeling anxious and then not feeling anxious. That's a win. But like you said, the mindset of it is, well, no, I need that change now. I need that 6-pack now. I need this now. Because we have things like Siri, when if I ask it, hey Siri, how far away is the moon from Earth?
The average distance between Earth and the moon is 238,856 miles.
Look, I just got that instantly. Like before, you would have had to go to the library, potentially see if they had a book to tell you the moon was 238,856 miles from Earth. Like, that was never possible. Amazon, as an example, especially in Europe. I know here it's not the same in Mexico, but in Europe...
Well, in the US is even better.
Is it? Well, you can get it like same day or something.
I think so. Yeah.
See, that's madness. Like before, I remember I actually ordered, like in lockdown, I ordered an outside gym set, and it took, I think it was like 16 days to come. After day 3, I forgot I even ordered it.
Wow.
Because Amazon, you get it next day.
Yeah.
I always got things next day. I would use Prime. So because we live in a world of that instant information, open social media, get a hit of dopamine because you got some likes, it's actually harder to go to the gym. It's actually harder to do a meditation because it's so much easier to get the chemicals in your brain.
Yeah, because all these things you're gonna see the results in some time,
Mm-hmm.
and people often doesn't have the
willpower.
They don't want to wait.
Right.
They don't want to wait that long.
Yes. Yeah. They're impatient.
Yeah.
Which I understand. So that's why I think doing a challenge, specifically like a 30-day, even if it's a 30-day challenge for eating healthy, a 30-day challenge for meditation, a 30-day challenge for running, like whatever it is, something that's difficult, if you can do it for 30 days, that's why I made my meditation challenge easy. I did the first meditation 3 minutes. Every day it goes up by 1 minute. So for example, if someone's never been to the gym and they're like really not feeling it, but they really want to lose weight, I would just say like, okay, day 1, just put your shoes on and walk to the car and then go back inside. Day 2, get in the car, drive to the gym and then go back home. Day 3, drive to the gym, go in for 5 minutes and then come back home.
I wouldn't do that.
No?
That
Would you
sounds
not?
stupid.
It sounds stupid, but you're actually progressively putting yourself into it. Like it is a stupid thing to do. But if someone really cannot, like for example, like if you go in with someone and go, right, 2-hour session, like after day 1 they're gonna be like oh,
No, I understand the
bother with
concept.
this.
I'll probably
But
do it slightly different.
Right. So
Probably,
like maybe
okay.
turn up to the gym for like 20 minutes and just
go
get
20,
a session in.
Yeah, go 20 minutes on the treadmill.
Right.
'Cause,
Right.
You don't need to know how to use it.
Yes. Yeah, you just walk.
Yeah, you just walk.
And then you're getting used to actually walking into the gym.
That's right.
And a gym can be a scary place. Let's say I remember when I first went to the gym and I was super skinny, I'm looking at everyone like, oh, they're looking at me. No, they're working out, but I still felt like everyone's looking at me when there's no reason. So if someone's overweight, they're probably thinking, oh, everyone thinks I shouldn't be here. And it's like, no, you have just as much right as everyone else to be here. What would you recommend for someone who is struggling with that and wants to turn up to the gym, but they're actually scared of it?
Yeah, that's a fair question. Thing is, obviously, it's been many years that I haven't felt that way.
Right.
And so...
Did you ever feel that way?
I don't know. So talking about it, I remember feeling a little bit of awkwardness when I was going like into a new gym.
Yes.
Like early days. Like if it was early days when I started my fitness journey and I would change gym and I would go into a different gym, I would feel a little bit like, oh, people is looking at me.
Yeah,
Am I
yeah.
doing this right?
The machines are slightly different as well. I remember I've done it wrong on so many machines before.
Oh, yes. So, trying to remember what that feel like, it can be awkward for sure. But, so first of all, definitely find a way to get some guidance.
Right. I feel that's a good...
If you're prepared, it always helps.
Of course.
And
go to war with guns, basically.
Well, right.
Don't go into a gunfight with knives.
Right. And so that would be number one. Number two, as you said earlier, no one really cares.
They actually don't.
Don't think that people is gonna look at you or they're gonna judge you. And remember that even you, me, even the pro bodybuilder, best looking guy in the gym,
me,
had a day zero. Right? They always had that day zero of course. So we all of us had our first day at the gym that felt awkward.
Exactly.
But then if you don't go through that,
that's it. And that's what people aren't willing. Some people, not everyone. Some people aren't willing to do. They're not willing to feel the pain. Do you know what I mean? So they're not willing to be like go through the awkward stage. Sort of like with me with dancing. Like there's just some things that I'm not willing to do that, and I'm just honest with myself. Maybe I will start dancing. I've considered it, but this was that thing of I just can't be bothered to be bad for that long period of time.
So I'm glad you're saying that, because that brings me back to a very cool thing to do, and I call it the white belt mentality.
Okay, so going in like an amateur.
Yeah, there's a very... Okay, for me it comes easy.
Okay.
But there's a very high value for me in being a white belt in something.
Okay.
Going into something new.
Right.
When you have no confidence,
yeah,
you can't do it, and just go through it.
Yeah, and knowing that you're going to suck, basically.
Yeah, go and do something that you're going to suck.
That's what I did with Spanish, actually. I've got my Spanish or my friend. I did 2 classes with her. She said, she was like, "You're already ahead of most people because you're trying to speak Spanish."
That's right.
Do you know what I mean? When we have a conversation, I say things wrong and it's funny, but I'm not ashamed of that because I'm like, well, Spanish is not my first language. Of course, I'm not going to know it. Do you know what I mean? I don't there's so many things that I'm like, of course, I'm going to be a beginner. Do you know what I mean? With editing videos, I'll get the right help. With business, I spoke to the right people. With hypnotherapy, I spoke to the right people. If you've got enough of a desire, if one's got enough of a desire, you can go into it. And I feel like that's a really good analogy, is the white belt mentality.
And it's a muscle. It's a muscle that you can train.
Of course. If
you're going to throw yourself into more situations that are going to require you to learn and to be a white belt.
Yeah.
The more you do it, the easier it gets.
True.
And then you just do anything.
True.
Because sometimes, that's right. For example, I remember about dancing. I remember going to bachata and salsa nights.
Yeah.
And you see people dancing. It's like, wow.
Yeah, they're
I
incredible.
Even do that.
Yeah.
And I would be ashamed to try and dance because, I would be so bad at it. But guess what?
You got better.
If I want to learn,
that's it.
At the beginning, I'm gonna suck, and then I'm just gonna practice.
That's it.
And and now it's rewarding because people now beginners they
look at you
me,
and they're like,
oh, you can dance, and I'm like, Well, okay, thank you. Like, I don't feel like it, but you know, I guess I'm making progress. But you only get there.
He's one for the ladies. Italian, can dance, three languages, three languages.
Yeah, so
In
far.
shape. What can't you do, Matteo?
Well, you know, I'm trying to be. I'm trying to build myself as a high value man,
He's
right?
doing it. You make it happen. My guy. I want to go back to some stories. Actually, I want to go back to some crazy stories. I want to go back to some of my fun stories and your stories as well. So what
Fun ones?
What was a fun one? Because when I think about it, mine went dark really quickly at the start. Like that was just an
Okay,
awful.
I have a fun one.
Okay.
This is actually fun. So I was in Ibiza, and it was a massive. I think it was like a closing party.
Right.
So obviously, I had like a sequence of things. Like I would get into a club drunk,
Right.
and then we'll start doing drugs.
Right.
So I remember I went into the club drunk,
A
and
sequence when you had a schedule, like right, drunk
I
by
actually
club.
had a schedule. I actually had a schedule because
Hold on a second. You told me you weren't organised. When it came to drugs.
we are organized for the stuff that we value.
You saying you don't value the mindful warriors?
I value my warriors.
I'm joking.
I just don't value doing Excel sheets.
Yeah. No. I hear you.
That's the thing. So I was drunk, going to the club, and actually I hook up with a girl,
Right.
and
Siempre.
and we end up having sex in the toilet,
This guy.
of course. So we have sex in the toilet. Then she goes away. I was like, oh, okay. Now I'm still a little bit drunk, and I had sex, so I'm gonna take the drugs. I had pills in my pocket. Boom, I take the pill. And then like 10, 15 minutes after, this girl, she meets me again, and she was like, oh, I'm with my friend. Do you want to go home and do a threesome? And I was like, yeah, I was like, oh no. Like, okay, number one,
You're like trying to throw out the drugs.
it's like a closing party, so I didn't want to miss the closing party.
Right.
But the offer was good. So the offer was good, I was like, a threesome. Oh, yeah. The only problem is that I just took a pill.
Yeah.
And
That's what they call pilly willy, innit?
yeah,
No possible.
it's not gonna work. So I was like, I'm sorry, it's not gonna work. However, give me a second, because I might try to throw a Hail Mary.
What's that?
So I
Just
have
throw up.
no. So the Hail Mary is like it's from football, American
Okay.
football.
Okay.
It's basically like the last chance.
Right.
I called a friend that lives there in Ibiza, and I said, and he didn't pick up. But basically, I wanted to ask if he knew or he had Viagra. Because I was like, oh, I can save this. If I take some Viagra, then I'm gonna be able to do it. Which probably wasn't gonna be a good. I don't know. It probably would work. Probably not. Probably I would die. I don't know. But
I wonder what would happen, because that would be like an up and a down, would it not? No, ecstasy's an up. So
yeah, I don't know really.
your
But
heart
I
rate,
was
your
like,
heart rate would be going some.
Yeah, and so, well, but basically it didn't pick up, and so I told the girl, look, I'm gonna stay here because yeah, but yeah, that's a funny one.
That's crazy. That is crazy. So were you a big, like, did you go to Ibiza a lot?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a period of time, I think between 18. How many years? No, maybe not 18. I started going at 18. Let's say between 20 and 25. I went pretty much every summer, once or twice every summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was into like techno
That's
parties.
mad.
So
That's
that's
mad.
that would be not the only setting. That would be the main setting where I would do drugs.
Right. Makes sense.
And then I had a period of time.
Let me just pause it. Emma, is that still filming?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Sometimes it cuts out and it doesn't make a noise. Está bien.
I had a period of time where we would do like coke and
Mm-hmm.
would be just in the house.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know? But mainly I would do drugs when we were in parties.
Interesting. See, I was actually the total opposite. Not the total opposite. At parties, I would always do drugs, but I preferred to do it. Like, I just loved the feeling of it so much that I would do it in a house with my friends. Like, I actually valued that because I enjoyed just chatting shit with my friends. Do you know what I mean?
Point, yeah.
And I've got videos on my phone that I will not not display. Videos of me, I'm more than happy to display, but I'm not happy to display things of my friends.
Right.
But there's some stupid things, like, especially on holiday, like those holidays. I remember I went to Cavos and then Ayia Napa. Did I go twice? I can't remember. Anyway, the one in Ayia Napa, me and my friend, we were literally so drunk out of our heads. I don't know whether we definitely had drugs. Definitely, when I think about it. It was always. And we were at this club, and I remember we were sitting there and we were having this conversation. I was like, oh, do you want to go and get a tattoo? I think these were the only 2 tattoos that I had. So just my shoulder and my chest. So I didn't have many tattoos, and he's like, yeah, let's go and get one. And I remember we're walking to the tattoo shop. I'm like, oh, what do you want to get? What do you want to get? I was like, all right, why don't we get something that mine starts and then yours finishes it off? So like some lyrics to a song.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, mine starts it, and then we were like, let's get it on our ass. It'll be funny. Everyone will laugh. So we were going to get the lyrics to a song. I was going to get the start, and then he was going to get the end. And then for about half an hour, we were arguing like, no, I'm getting the first bit. He was like, no, I'm getting the first bit. I was like, no, I'm getting the first bit. Half an hour later, I go, how much money you got? He's like, I haven't got any. He was like, do you have any? I was like, no. I was like, so what was that argument for? He was like, I don't know, do you want to go home? I was like, yeah, all right. So it was just a waste of time, us two sitting there just arguing with each other about who's getting this tattoo when neither of us got it in the end.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. What is?
No, I don't have it. I never got it. We literally went home. And then that same guy, this is awful. We got back to one of their apartments. I can't remember whose it was. And he just starts climbing over the balcony, trying to jump off of it. And it's like a 2-story balcony. No, it's a 1-story balcony. So you wouldn't have died.
Still dangerous, yeah.
Still, of course, very dangerous. I walk inside. My friend's sitting on a chair on the bed.
What?
He'd just been punched in the face. So he was always starting fights. He'd just been punched in the face, blood everywhere, just sitting there looking at me like, "You all right?" And I was like, "What are you doing?" I turn around, my friend is hanging by one arm off the balcony by my other friend, and my friend goes, "Max, oi, help me! He's gonna fall. So I run outside, I grab him. My other friend just walks off and leaves me to hold him, and then my friend looks up at me and goes, "Oi, just drop me, I'll be fine." I was like, "All right," and I just dropped him. And he dropped and fell down off the balcony. He's on the floor, and he walks out, and I'm like he sort of walks under the room, and he walks back out. I'm like, what is that on his back? He split his back open, like there was a piece of metal, like split his back open. It absolutely ruined, like he had to get stitches, but because he was too drunk, they wouldn't stitch him up with anaesthetic. They just used that he was drunk.
Wow.
So they did not use anesthetic. They stitched him up. We're sitting there going, ha, ha. I'm like,
by the way, this is a standard British kid holiday.
he's not
Italian
wrong.
kids don't do that.
Honestly, like, if I'm being complete, so this was the worst thing. When we were in Ayia Napa, there was 60 people that I knew from my town, and I don't know why. We all just happened to be out at the same time. So the strip was literally like, I would walk down it, I would know someone. So it's sort of like here on Playa, but here I'm not running and there's not loads of fights. But a lot of people that I knew used to always get into fights.
Oh, typical.
Like, always get into fights. One of my friends got his face smashed in with a baseball bat, lost all his teeth.
Wow.
Yeah, because he was fighting with a guy and fell on one of the locals' quad bikes and just completely, like, they didn't even do too much wrong. They were just on their quad bikes. Locals came out and just started smashing people. Next day we went back, and you know those metal bike stands? Like, you lock your bike to it. They were just battered. And I was like, Jesus Christ, they did that to the metal. Imagine what his face was like.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God. And it was, there was some crazy stories that actually went on, and just stupid stuff, like getting into fights for no reasons.
Yeah.
Like when I think about this now, one of my friends said to me, he was like, I'm not gonna say who it is, but he knows who it is if he's watching this. He was like, you wouldn't back me, and I was like, no, I wouldn't. Not if you start a fight for no reason. I was like, if I saw you getting like beaten up and there was like, you were just on the floor and you generally didn't do anything, then of course I'm gonna do something. But if you're actively going out and you start, like, I was like, I'm not gonna back you in a fight if you start it.
Well, because it's almost like disrespecting you. Because it's like, I'm gonna get in trouble, and then I want you to get in trouble just to get me out of trouble. It's
exactly.
Like, I understand, like, well, no, I don't understand where it's coming from, because that would be like, well, just don't get into fight.
Yeah, literally.
So
that was my.
I don't have to have your back.
Exactly. That was my exact logic, and I was like, well, if you don't get into a fight for a good reason and you diffuse a situation, like if someone's gonna start a fight with me, I'm gonna diffuse a situation.
You're gonna try as much as you can, yeah.
If there's no way for me to diffuse it, then I'm gonna have to do something to defend myself.
Right.
But I refuse to get into fights because I've seen it. I've had fights with friends, like actual friends of mine. There was a fight where there was two of them, and we were just like sort of just taking a piss at each other. They both then wanted to fight me, so then we got into a fight, and it was them two against me. And then one of them had real good punch, and he split my eye open. And then I remember, I can't remember exactly what happened. I think I punched one of them, and then I had one of them on the floor, and I saw his head on the floor, and I just thought, I want to smash his head against the concrete. I was like, when I thought, I was like, oh my God, why did I think that? But it was all the adrenaline. That's the thing. When you're in those states of mind, you're so irrational.
Yeah, you gotta be.
Well, exactly. Well, not even you got to be, but you just are.
Yeah.
And I had no control. My thought was, his head's against that concrete. If I punch his head hard enough, he's going to smash his head on the floor. And I was like, I want to do it. But then one of my friends pulled me off, and I'm like, I just said, I was like, thank God you pulled me off, because I don't know what I would have. And I'm actually quite scared of what I could do, because I know what my dad's like as well.
Right.
And I've seen him in fights, and he's crazy. He's a strong man. So I've always been quite scared of that as well. But have you got any other stories of things that you've done?
Not much of a story, but more of a realization that I had lately.
Yeah. Go on.
Actually, okay, I'm gonna tell us. Well, okay, I'm gonna try to make a short story.
Go on.
So, this links into the reason why I stopped drinking.
Okay.
So, I was thinking I tried not to drink for a while. It's been like probably in the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
I've had this thought of stop drinking, but then one thing that really was a catalyst for me, it was because I left Mexico.
Okay.
And I went back to Italy,
Right.
and then my friend was like, let's go to Ibiza.
Okay.
And I was like, oh yeah, let's go. So I was on booking.com trying to basically I booked an hotel.
Right.
The moment I booked the hotel, the next day I get an email from the court of Ibiza.
I remember you telling me this.
Yeah, because
Is the card full? ¿Está bien? Sí. Muchas gracias. Go again.
so the court is 6 years old. The court case is 6 years old,
Oh, Jesus.
and I never heard anything back from them.
Yeah.
So the case
They
is still
just let
open.
you out of prison. Let you out of like.
Yeah, they let
a
me out
cell.
of prison. They were like, we'll let you know what happened, but I never received anything or anything.
Wow.
And then I've been thinking about stop drinking, and then
Yeah.
I get this email from the court
Yeah.
about something that I did while I was
Drunk.
It was a drunk thing.
Of course.
And so that was like the university is telling me something. And so since then I've been really
Conscious about it.
conscious about it. I only drank probably a couple of times since
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, it's probably like I'm on 2 months sober now.
Wow. Brilliant.
And I'm willing to continue.
Yeah. That's it.
And what I wanted to say is that we often have the society gives us this concept that to have fun in a party you need to be either drunk or you
Yeah.
need to take something.
Yeah.
While I've been in parties since then.
Yeah.
Like I've been in party sober.
And you've
and
enjoyed yourself.
I'm having so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm having so much fun. So
I feel like that's the thing. Like, I just don't enjoy parties. Like, period. I just don't really enjoy them. For me, it's like it's just being around a load of drunk. Like, for example, I went sober from drugs. I've been sober for 6 years. From alcohol, I was sober for I think 2 years. Then I drank a little bit. Then I went sober for a year again. Then I drank a little bit. Then I went sober for a bit. And now, like, I just don't drink regularly, but I can drink because I can control how much I drink. But then the other thing I was literally just thinking about this. All the times I took drugs, I remember everything that happened.
right.
I've had times where I've drunk alcohol, I don't remember a thing.
Oh, many times.
But alcohol is legal and drugs aren't. That's the thing. And also, I'm trying to think about it. I probably had more fights drinking alcohol than I did ever on drugs.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
when I was on drugs, I was always feeling like the happy hormones.
Yes.
Like oxytocin,
Serotonin.
serotonin. There's another one, dopamine. Like all those type of chemicals in my mind, or in my mind and body. I was feeling that. Whereas when you drink, it actively puts you out of state. And I'm not saying to anyone to take drugs, but what I'm saying is it's interesting that they are illegal, but alcohol isn't.
Oh, there is definitely like a huge debate around that. Even just, what we were saying earlier about like weed being a plant medicine and stuff like that. Like, we are basing most of our beliefs and the way we look at drugs based on how they're classified by the government.
Of course.
Like, if you grow up in Amsterdam,
True.
where when weed
Weed's
is legal,
yeah.
then
You don't think
you finish, you finish work, instead of going to the pub and getting a pint, you go to the coffee shop and you smoke a weed and you smoke
Exactly.
a spliff, like.
And everyone's so chilled.
Yeah, so there is a lot of debate around that. Even just how maybe how drugs are classified.
Yeah.
There is a lot of debate how
I think it's wrongly done.
like
Do you know what I mean?
why mushrooms are the same as cocaine.
Well, exactly. Well, that's the thing that really surprises me, because so I was actually scared to take mushrooms for the first time when we did it for the first time. I made a video about it, and because I had a bad experience with ayahuasca, I associated that to psychedelics in general. But when we did mushrooms, I remember that we're gonna have to actually we'll go into that in another episode. We'll go into that whole thing. Maybe we'll do an episode on mushrooms. That'd be interesting. So we had a great conversation. So stay tuned for that one. But you don't feel awful the next day. You feel totally fine. When you come out of the trip, it's like everything's back to normal. But your mind, it's a learning. For example, I don't recommend to do mushrooms. What's the word? Recreationally.
Right.
Like, the reason I wanted to do it with someone the first time, I was like, I'm scared what might happen. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, fair.
But now I would be perfectly fine to do it on my own. And for me, it's more of a learning thing. Like when I did it with you, we just had a great conversation. When I did it with my friend, I was at her place. And when I started to trip, she just left me to it, left me in the hammock. And I was just going through my trip. And now, like I said, I would feel comfortable enough to do it. But I would always recommend to just let someone know that you're doing it, just in case you have a bit of a bad trip and you need someone to just sort of look after you or whatever. But yeah, it's really interesting to me that they are classed as the same thing when one is actually, it's a medicine. Like the way I see it, it genuinely is a medicine. Yeah. Like at the moment, I'm microdosing it as a medicine and it's helping me be more creative. Like I feel super happy. Like obviously that's a part of what I do every day. Do you know what I mean? Like I've created this lifestyle. But I do feel like it's had a positive impact on my life for sure.
Oh, they're doing huge studies around all this stuff. The only problem is that in most countries they're illegal.
Yes.
And so they're having issues about doing the trials and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, they're looking into like MDMA for depression and
yes.
PTSD.
Have you seen the Netflix
ketamine
documentary?
I think.
Oh, I can't remember what it's called. I was watching it and they do MDMA, LSD, mushrooms, I think ketamine as well on that.
Yeah.
And the results are great.
Yeah.
Like for me personally, I wouldn't take anything other than the natural things.
Right.
So like I would go to out of LSD, ketamine, and I've done ketamine, MDMA, I haven't done LSD, but out of those three and mushrooms, I would always go to mushrooms just because it's natural. That's that, and I don't know whether, like for example, I was on the pier earlier down by the beach and some lady was chatting to me and she was, I don't know what she was saying. We had a basic communication in Spanish, but she only spoke Spanish. And she was telling me about some pharmacy thing. And I was like, oh no, I'm only natural. Do you know what I mean? If I feel sick, like I juice, I get supplements. Like that's just my personal thing. And it's all natural stuff. Like I won't take any pharmaceuticals.
Any man-made.
I just won't. Although I don't disbelieve them.
Right.
I personally believe that they should only be used as a last resort.
Okay, interesting.
So like, and I had this conversation with my friend who is a pharmacist, and she agrees with me. She was like, well, if I'm being honest, I agree with her. Like she's the one that sort of, we had this conversation. She was saying like, I think that drugs have helped, like pharmaceutical drugs have helped, but what doesn't help is giving them straight away.
Yeah.
Because you don't know that, I don't know, taking like celery juicing as an example. Celery juicing is great for eczema from like the studies that have been done. what is the point in going straight to something that isn't meant for your body, but has been created for your body? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, that's why I would always do the celery juice route first, and I would find all the natural roots first. And then from there, I would, if nothing worked, then I would consider it, if I'm being honest.
That's a good way to say it. I don't take many medicines, to be honest. But I didn't have any, like, you have a clear way of thinking around this.
Right.
I don't.
Okay.
But I might start now that you made it aware to me. Yeah, it's a great way to think about it. Like, to be honest, like, when I grew up, my dad, like, he won't go to doctor.
Love it. I love your dad.
He won't take medicines. And actually, this is great. This is a great learning that he gave to me. So my dad, you know, he has his own business.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, if he was sick, then the business, well, it will kind of run because he has someone working for him.
Right.
But he always been like
One man army.
one man army.
Right.
And so I remember, like, sometime, you know, it would be, you know, when you're getting sick, and my mom would be, oh, you're sick, you know, don't go to work today. And you'll be like, no, I'm okay.
Yeah. It's a mindset
Like,
thing.
he will always deny being sick.
Yeah.
But actually, he never skipped a day work.
Wow.
He never skipped a day work.
Wow.
And, you know, on the other side, like, I work with many people, like, you know, clients.
Yeah,
and then I have clients that are sick, like, a week every month. And I'm like, how is this possible?
Yeah, how is that possible?
How is this possible? Like, my dad, since I remember, and I'm 30 years old, like, he's never been sick. He never missed a day of work. And I'm like, how can you be sick like a week
That's
every
crazy.
month?
And what was your, out of curiosity, what was your dad's like lifestyle like? Like food wise, did he drink a lot of alcohol? Did he smoke, anything like that?
He does drink alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah, he does drink alcohol daily.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, daily.
Interesting.
But you know, he grew up as a farmer.
Right.
So, you know, and Italians, we eat healthy anyway.
Like fresh food and
yeah,
stuff like
you
that.
know, well, he grows his own vegetables.
Okay, there you go. Straight
So, you know,
straight away.
Yeah, there is layers to this.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, that was a great learning from him for sure.
So that's the interesting thing. Like, straight away the lifestyle thing. Like,
Yeah.
so take that as an example. It doesn't mean you need to cut out alcohol. Like that's what we're also saying. Like, and I'm not saying you should put it back into your diet or whatever, but you don't necessarily need to stop doing anything. And I remember Joe Dispenza was talking about this, and he was saying one of his friends' mums like lived to 100 and something. She smoked cigarettes every single day.
Oh, my grandma, she's 102 years old, and she drinks now she drinks one glass of white wine with lunch every day.
No way.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, there's got to be a mindset. There has to. And there's actually been studies on this, that there has to be a mindset thing. So, especially for people that are, like, I've had this before, where I would speak to people and, oh no, I can't afford to do that. And it's like, what do you mean you can't afford? You can't afford not to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't afford to work on your mind that's going to serve you the rest of your life. But you can afford to go on a holiday that's going to last a week. So it's like, it's putting those things into perspective. And some people don't understand that, which, again, it takes someone to guide them to that understanding. If I'm being honest, back then I really wasn't good at selling anything at all. So I was just like, oh, okay, I guess you're right.
Yeah, but and sometimes, you know, it's also like maybe different level of consciousness.
True.
You know, we all see things in different ways.
Yeah.
And so where do you see a benefit in something some people doesn't?
True. Yeah, for example.
And you can force it.
Exactly. Well, take example veganism. You don't have my views, and that doesn't matter, period. Like, we made that video on it. But I personally see the value in it, whereas someone else doesn't. Like, for example, some people say, how do you get your protein? I'm like, that's a stupid question because I get it through many different sources. But I find value in finding it through these different sources, rather than getting it from what everyone assumes is the only way to get protein, which is chicken and beef and stuff like that. Right. A lot of people assume it. They're like, oh, how do you get protein? I'm like, well, beans, protein powder, like so many different things. Some people just don't see the value in shifting their life that much. Do you know what I mean? So they won't go vegan, as an example. And again, that's not for me to judge. Back a few years ago, I would have judged. I would have been like, what do you mean you're not vegan? I'm like, yeah, you can get your and I would have been very preachy with it. But now I'm just like, well, I can't change how someone is and who someone is. But what I can do is give them the information if they ask. Do you know what I mean? They're like, oh, how did you go vegan? Oh, this is how I did it.
And be as an example. That's what I found it was being really powerful for me to
Right.
understand.
Right.
Because, being almost like a health freak,
Yes.
right? So there will
You
be
actually
times,
piss people off as well sometimes, don't you?
Yeah, there will be times. Yeah, exactly. There will be times where I will judge my friends, for their lifestyle,
Yeah?
and that doesn't work.
No.
Like, you can.
That makes it worse.
Yeah, it makes it worse. But then, if you're just consistent with your actions, and they see the change,
Then they start to
then
ask
one
how.
day, yeah, they will come to you. And I remember where I read this, but basically, there's like stages to this. First, they will laugh at you.
Yeah. Then
Then
they'll watch
they will
you.
look at you,
Yeah. And then they will...
and then they will ask,
How? Ask how?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And then they will join you.
And then they will join you. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, yeah, I feel that's the biggest thing is like be the change you wish to see. So like, and I use this as an example. I remember when I first started my business journey, everyone would say like, oh, like even my grandparents, they love me, they adore me, they absolutely like. I do not doubt that one bit. But they would always say to me, why don't you just get a safe van driver job? I'm like, because I don't want to drive a van. I was like, and not that it's a bad job. It's a good way to earn money, but there's no.
It wasn't your thing.
There's no passion in it, if I'm being honest. Unless someone genuinely loves vans or genuinely loves the company they're working for, it's a different story.
Right.
But I would never find passion in driving a van.
Yeah, there is definitely jobs where it will be difficult to find a passion for them.
Yeah, like stacking shelves. Let's face it.
Yeah,
when you go into the interview and they're like, so what made you want to work here at Tesco's or Walmart or something like? Oh, I love the company. It's like, no, you don't. That's bullshit. Like, you do not love the company. It's such a lie. But that's what they expect from people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
That's it. So if you want to get more stories like this, we're gonna give you value with our stories and give you a good time. That's what we're gonna hopefully give, aren't we?
We hope so.
We hope so. They are awful stories, so make sure you come in for the next one because we're gonna share stories every episode and also give you a lot of value. So I hope you got a lot of value. Other than that, we are out.